Well, joining me in studio now to discuss the latest Trump situation, I'm joined by SABC News Economics Editor Tshepo Mongoai and SABC News International Editor Sophie Mokoena. Thank you much to both of you. Ms. Sophie, let me start with you. Politically, how is the South African government dealing with the claims that have been made by Donald Trump?
Well, I think South Africa is not surprised. Neither is the world, as you saw, that he took drastic moves and steps based on what he promised when he was campaigning on issues of tariffs against Canada, China, and Mexico. And therefore, no country is immune from Donald Trump's decisions, because we knew very well that are the things that he is going to focus on. In relation to South Africa, you know that there was already discussions within the Congress and also in the Senate in relation to some of the foreign policy. So that subtle hostility has been there. And with Trump, we knew that it was going to reach a boiling point because of his views in terms of some of these issues. And what doesn't help is Elon Musk, a South African, a person who was born in South Africa, who is very problematic, even in the United States of America, where the Americans themselves, a society, is very critical of Elon Musk. We knew that this was going to happen in terms of scrutinizing some of the policies and going as far as announcing decisions as he has done. We are not the only country where Trump took to Twitter to make announcements. He did the same with other countries, and we saw how those decisions affecting countries such as Canada, Mexico, China, those pronouncements, what they did to the markets and the currency of those respective countries. So for South Africa, unfortunate thing is that he didn't read the act properly, neither did he perhaps familiarize himself with the South African Constitution, because the word expropriation, it dates back to the adoption of the Constitution. Constitution does allow government to expropriate in the interest of public, particularly even when you have that clause of saying compensation. If that compensation, you don't agree, then you expropriate. So the word expropriation, it's not new in the lexicon or the debate and the discussions. Now, you have two groups here. You have far right and the liberals on one side. They hate expropriation. You have the left and some of the middle type of liberal people to the left, and the extreme left who want expropriation. And the far left would even say not just expropriation, expropriation without compensation. So South Africa has been dealing with this issue from those different interest groups. It's not going to end. It will continue. And I think now that some political parties in the country and some stakeholders have taken a decision to challenge this act in court, the South African courts are independent. They know what they are doing. They will pronounce on this issue. And I think the government will have to take cue from what the highest court in the land, the Constitutional Court, is going to say. But Donald Trump's statements, this is just a starter. It's not the last meal or dessert. Today he's meeting the Prime Minister of Israel. You can imagine what he is going to say, because remember, South Africa has taken Israel to the International Court of Justice and also to the International Criminal Court, that warrant of arrest. Yeah. So when they discuss Middle East, we are again going to be caught in a crossfire as a country, yes, or a crossfire as a country, yes, or the government.
Tshepo is there. Currently, we're in the realm of speculation. She talked about the Expropriation Act and what governs, etc., etc. But Donald Trump is alleging or claiming, are land grabs that are taking place in this country, even referring to the Expropriation Act, even if that's his reference point. But he's saying that this is actively happening, that very bad things are happening in the country. People's assets are being taken. There are massive human rights violations taking place. And in a way, he's talking about US funding being suspended until they make a determination whether those claims are true or not. But despite that, the markets are already reacting. The rand has weakened. We've seen our bonds also under pressure. That's just with the threat of US funds being withdrawn. Never mind the fact that he hasn't even started to talk about tariffs. What's your interpretation of everything?
I think we've been there before. We look at it when we had the Russia issue that happened. You know, it's the message, market and investors and international community, often they will run away with just one line without going and drilling into the actual content of it, what is really happening, like with the issue of land. So that's one of the challenges that we have. I mean, confidence and perception sometimes is not based on real facts on the ground. But of course, we are being affected, we are being hit, and we're definitely going to pay the price here, especially when you have a big player, the US, taking such drastic moves. And what has been a major concern, particularly in terms of monetary policy for South Africa, it's been around inflation and what kind of vision and planning in terms of the models that the Reserve Bank is using that are forward-looking. It has been very difficult, but I suppose it's been difficult for everyone to preempt and plan. They have scenarios, and I think there are two scenarios. One is based on structural reforms, and of course another one based on tariffs. They have kind of try to work out what will be the impact. But the fact is, it is going to be inflationary for South Africa. It's going to be inflationary for the world, and it's going to result in a lot of uncertainties. And we don't need uncertainty where we want to get confidence in the global economy to get things moving, to get investors trying to invest. And unfortunately, they often say history repeats itself. This is the repeat of what was a failed policy by the US in the 1930s when they tried with the, I think it's the Smooth and Hurley trade reform that they came up with in order to protect their agricultural sector. It didn't work. But there are those who are arguing that perhaps this could be a way of Trump to get their attention and negotiate and use this as a negotiating tool, because you could have a universal tariff that the US can use because they say they want to raise money. We speak about the spending freeze that they are proposing. They really need money because they are spending way too much,
Yeah.
So tariffs could be one way, raising capital, but they're not going for universal tariffs. They're going for bilateral tariffs instead. They really want to grab the attention of those individual countries and negotiate certain things in order to find their way or find each other. Perhaps, maybe that could be the reason.
Let's see. Sophie, just from a bigger picture point of view, what does the kind of conduct that Donald Trump is undertaking, you know, with his bilateral partners, you know, Canada, Mexico, China, us separately, because it's a different issue, it's not tariffs. What does this ultimately mean for countries like China and Russia? Because at the end of the day, if America is focused on America first, and is isolating itself from everybody else and sometimes upsetting other countries, doesn't this also now create an opportunity for them to now get into areas that they couldn't before, like, you know, Western Europe, because he's also attacking or approaching the EU unfavorably as well, the likes of?
Well, countries will retaliate. That's how it works. When you look at issues of tariffs, countries are going to retaliate. I don't think even the World Trade Organization will be able to manage this now. The countries are going to retaliate. America is also going to feel the heat. Gwede Mantashe, just now addressing the mining summit, spoke about how South Africa will leverage on minerals that it has. So countries are going to retaliate. America doesn't have everything. Let's take trade between America and South Africa. You have 500 American companies in South Africa. It's a two-way trade. Yes, aid, 17% in terms of money in relation to health. You can easily work out how you factor in America taking away that 17%. But what is South Africa going to do? What is China going to do? And therefore, it is not in the interest of any country what is happening now. Yes, he wants to position America as a powerful force again, a shopkeeper of the world. It doesn't work now in this day and age. And there are alternative markets also. America wants to compete with China, the technology, advancement of technology. All those minerals, both these two countries, number one economy, America, and number two, China, are using to build their sector in relation to technology. You find here on the African continent. And South Africa has those mines that minerals are able to produce or to where you can get those minerals. So you can't just think it's like 14 Motong Strip, the house of Sophie Mokoena, Smolanyana. Yes, we are very small in the big scheme of things, but the reality is we are contributing in terms of what you need to be where you are. And therefore, I think by the time 2 years, 3 years down the line, I think it's not going to be easy, neither for us nor for America itself. And Americans, we've seen that Americans are now, many are happy, many are angry.
Tshepo, very quickly, to me, this looks like a zero-sum game. No one's going to win, like Sophie says. What do you use around this idea of levying a tariff on this one and the other one retaliates? What is the ultimate outcome? In 30 seconds.
Well, it's going to be very difficult, and especially can't map it out in terms of what will be the impact. But at the end of the day, it is going to have an impact on global trade. And Sophie pointed out, I don't think the WTO is going to have much to do. Already we had instances where countries would push up certain tariffs and the WTO would do absolutely nothing. So this is going to be another, factor that is going to be a key driver of inflation for the economy. And no one knows exactly how eventually it's going to pan out.
All right. Thank you so much to both of you, Sophie Mokoena and Tshepo Mongoai, for speaking to us on this very interesting topic.